All right, peace and much love. Zin Uru here. Welcome to the latest installment of Message from the Minista. Let's start off by welcoming everybody here. Thank you for coming out tonight. So grateful from my heart to your heart. Warm-hearted bridge, the rainbow bridge between us across all time and space. The rainbow bridge that connects us. The true great event, the true God, the true nature of reality, our crystalline perfection. As I'm speaking, I'm seeing more people arrive, and it's interesting because we all start moving at certain frequencies, and frequency attracts. Frequency vibrates and can create more of itself. It starts duplicating itself like a wave frequency, woo, like the wave, like the sound goes woo, but then woo, then there's multiple waves of that frequency moving out. So this week, it was a very interesting week. I was sitting here preparing for this lesson, and I came across an old notebook, and in that notebook was some really cool charts that I got from a gentleman, I'll put him up here, by the name of Ian Zell Lungold. And he was he passed it in 2005, but he was an incredible scholar on the Mayan calendar. He went and lived with the Mayans, who are still alive and could speak for themselves at the time, and still to this day. He went down and he lived with the Mayans, and he learned about the calendar and how it relates to consciousness and how it relates to Earth and the frequencies, and foretelling the future prophecy as well. So during Ian Zell Lungold's lectures, though, on the Mayan calendar, he gives these charts, and one of them is this chart that I'm going to show in a minute. And it's a chart that's a cube. And it's four foundational pieces to this cube. So before I show the chart, I just want to talk about the cube and how that relates to this week's lesson. Because just like a cube, this lesson is going to be in four parts. There's going to be four sides to this lesson. And this lesson is titled Foundational Integrity. Foundational Integrity. And then the part one of it is called Attention Pays. So foundational integrity, part one, attention pays. That's this week, attention pays. So we're going to be talking about attention. And we're also going to be talking about how, we hear the term a lot, pay attention. But what I've realized is that attention pays. Like when we pay attention to, not everything we pay attention to pays. Not everything we give to do we receive from, or do we receive equal value from. Most people at their work, they think that they're spending their time there, just their time at that work, and they're getting paid X amount of dollars for their time. Okay, so they're getting paid for their attention to whatever they're paying, whatever their attention, that job or that task that they're focused on while they're at that job. But you're not just paying with your time, you're paying with your soul, your energy, all of those things. So, somebody who loves what they're doing and what they're getting paid for, they have a different experience, even if they may be making less money, but they love what they're doing, or enjoy what they're doing, I should say, compared to the person who may be even making more money, but his soul is just yearning at this other place, So what we pay, they say, pay attention to this, pay attention to that. So our attention is a currency. And it's a direct currency because it's a direct currency of our consciousness. You feel me? Like we're paying attention to something. And we have this conscious attention that we can give to something. And if we give our conscious attention to something and it only gives a little back in return, then our energy is depleted. See? So we want to be in a space where what we're paying attention to, attention pays. We receive equal value. We receive equal energy. We receive some form of, agreeable compensation for that energetic I'm not talking amongst people. That's different. Let's keep this out of the realm of relationship, okay? Let's keep this out of the realm of relationship right now, and keep this just in the realm of our activity, our actions, what we do in our day-to-day lives. Oh, let's put this up here before I get started. Okay, I'll put this chart up here, okay? This is the Ian Zell-Lungold chart. And as you can see, there's 4 distinct sides to this chart. There's a cube. And if you see, it says integrity, intention, intuition, and attention. And then we have down here under what is attention and intuition, that creates our connection to source. And then we have down here under integrity and intention, that's how we create and manifest our future, through integrity and intention. And in the center, he has our being. And integrity means sustainability, and paying attention with intention as connection to source. See, so what we're talking about here, see this foundational grid? This is these 4 subjects that we're going to be talking about these next 4 weeks. This being week 1 would be attention. And, this is I call this foundational integrity. Foundational integrity. I just saw this cube and I was like, I don't remember what he named it. And I saw up here it says Foundations Magic, but that's just, him giving these grids. But when we see this cube, you might, I'm leaving it up here for a minute. You might want to take a screenshot of that. You might want to draw it nicer for yourself. And what this is a way for us to use the power of 4. There's a core, we call it in hip hop, we call it the core 4, breaking, MCing, graffiti art, DJing. But this is an ancient concept. What we know is about 4 as a foundational piece, as a building block. See, a square creates a block, a cube more accurately creates the block. And so at the center of this core is our being. That's the center of our being. I'm going to take it down now. And the intention I have for this lesson is that with the days that are coming ahead, that those who watch Message from the Minista, if you've been finding the self-empowerment that we've been teaching for a while, that we've been talking about, that we've been discussing, if you're finding your true nature now, you're getting into that integral integrity inside yourself, you're paying attention to your true nature. We're paying attention to our true nature, but this is where it comes into, and we say attention pays. Because when we pay attention to our true nature is paying attention to us. And we're receiving even more than we're giving. We receive more from God than we give to God. But when we pay attention to what God is paying attention to, which is us, which is our true nature, which is ourself, God is here teaching us, getting our attention, whether it's through difficult times, because a lot of times God will use difficult times in our lives to bring us back. So it's like, oh man, my life has fallen apart. I better get on my knees now and pray, dear Lord. It's how this earth works. It's how this works. And it doesn't work like that for everybody. But if it works like that for those who know, and you feel that tinge, you feel that yearning, that springing forward, that hip and hop to God, it behooves us then to set foundational pieces in our lives. The H law, health, love, awareness, and wealth. The fourth overstanding, H law. That's a foundational piece. Foundational physics, foundational metaphysics. And so what we're paying attention to, say like, as another example, when we pay attention to our body, our physical body, and we pay attention to the health of our physical body, okay? We pay attention to the health of our physical body, and our physical body then becomes healthier through the performance of action. So we're sitting here and we're looking at our body and we're studying our body. That's what we're going to read tonight from the Divine Performances Performed Study. While we're studying our body, while we're paying attention to our body, while we're giving our body the nutrition or the exercise or the rest or whatever it is that our body needs, it then begins paying us with the rewards, the benefits of having a healthy body. The body's healthy. It feels good. It feels alive. It feels vibrant. You know, they say health is the truest wealth of all. So when we pay attention to our health pays attention to us, and it returns in more. We receive more health, more health, more health, more love, more love, more love, more awareness, more awareness, more awareness, more wealth, more wealth, more wealth. You know, that's what we pay attention to. And I'll tell you, there are a lot of distractions out there that want us to pay our attention to them. I'm paying my attention to the latest outrage. I'm paying my attention to the latest fear. I'm paying my attention to the latest media. I'm paying my attention to this. And what is it giving in return to pay attention to such things? I'm asking the question, what does it pay in return? Maybe we need to start asking this question of like, if I pay attention to this, what do I get in return? At least ask that. It might be a stupid movie. And you say, you know, if I pay attention to this movie, what do I get in return? Well, I get a stupid movie to enjoy. But look a little deeper. You also get stupidity in return. Stupidity. How does stupidity happen? So much stupidity happen in our outer environment. Like literally, what people call society that we're living in, and this is for the future really, but those who are here and now know, like, do you realize how utterly stupid this system is? The utter stupidity of their system. I mean, it is so stupid. And I was thinking about it. A friend of mine this week was talking about this. But, you know, Dr. Apollo was telling me, he said, do you ever realize, like, if you watch a drama starts happening in your life? I said, whoa, let me think about that. And I started thinking that you watch stupidity, you find more stupidity in your life. Now watch how this works, because we're watching television. They tell the lie to the vision. Okay? The vision takes it in. We're taking it in. We're paying attention. This is a foundational piece of all reality. So we're paying attention, okay? And then the attention that we're paying, we're receiving stupidity in return, as this example, from watching a stupid movie, okay? And then we are these harmonic, resonant beings. We are, as a man thinketh, so is he. What we take in, we put out. So we're taking in stupidity. And then we're seeing it in our outer environment. So multiply that times 1,000,000 times 1,000,000,000 times 7 billion, or whatever the population of the earth is. You know, how much stupidity are people taking in? And I'm just talking about a stupid comic movie, like a stupid comedy. What about the stupidity of whatever the current administration is? What about the stupidity of the mainstream media? What about the stupidity of the rap music industry? What about the stupidity of the fast food industry? What about the stupidity of the fossil fuel industry? And even though it's not a fossil, see how stupid it is? It's not even fossils. Fossils didn't make oil. There's no proof of that. It's a lie. But people are stupid, so they believe stupid lies. So if we're paying attention to the stupidity, we're aware. Remember, attention is not awareness. We can have awareness of what's going on. So we might tune into, like, what is this topic that everybody's talking about right now? We can have awareness of that, But we don't have to pay attention to the message. We can pay attention to what is the message we're receiving. And you'll see these metaphysics when we read, perform study tonight. But how many people intently pay attention to this stupidity that's all around them? To the fear, the propaganda, the debauchery, the sex, whatever it is, and then they manifest it to some degree in their lives, but then the collective is manifesting it to a greater degree in the collective life. The movie Idiocracy comes to mind. So if you're having a lot of drama in your life, ask yourself, like, am I watching too much drama? No. It's like the universe is like, you want more of that? Okay. It's like sad feelings. If we just walk around watching sad movies all the time and we have sad feelings, the universe is like, you must like sad feelings. Here's some more sad feelings. And you might be feeling sad about something that makes no sense to even feel sad about. But you're addicted to sad movies, sad stories of the sad piano. And these are master manipulators. You know? Like, do you ever pay attention to like just the music that is drawn into the background of any scene? If you take the music out, a lot of times the scene will lose its emotional pull or its emotional draw. Missy Mo, can you please not scratch that? Thank you. It will lose its draw of like the energetic draw because of music, that you get that sound, that feeling, do 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 do, bum 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 bum, somber notes, and then they got, and then your emotions are like, and this isn't even really happening. And I'm not like, there's theater, there's art, there maybe is a healthy time and space for that. But is that healthy time and space 4, 5, 6 hours out of a day? Even 2 hours out of a day? How much free time do you have in your day? How much time are you investing in the health of your body as opposed to that story or those emotions or whatever they're trying to hook us in with? How much time are we spending with our body? I mean, at least exercise while you're watching something, Be lifting the weights, riding the bike, We'll get one of those bikes that has to plug into the TV, so while you're riding the bike, the TV's going, but if you it's real like that. It should have to, you should at least get healthier in your body while we're watching garbage. We should at least be getting healthier in our body, but we really shouldn't be watching the garbage at all, And it's funny because in 2022, like this was like a topic that people talked about in the 1980s. And ask anybody. We used to talk about, like, if you spend too much time in front of the screen, it's going to make you dumb, And this seems like it's on television. Like, you just see some weird thing. It's like, this is like it's from a movie. There used to be like that talk when you're at work with people and things like that. Why? Because we didn't have a television studio movie theater in our pocket with every movie ever made available to us in our pocket. Every video, everything ever made digitally available to us in our pocket. We didn't have that. At a warehouse, we had a boom box with a cassette and the radio. How many times can you listen to the same cassette? You don't have time to be flipping back through cassettes, so it'll be on the radio. We got to listen to what's on the radio or whatever that is. And that was like a mild form of mind control to what's going on now. It's a mild form of mind control. You switch the radio, find a station, But the point being is that we used to realize the effect that television had on us more and the media had on us more. But, it's not just the television now, it's the computer screen and the phone screen, these little devices that's in everybody's hands. And Could this device be used for good? Well, all that knowledge there's all kinds of knowledge on there. What are we paying attention to? What are we watching on that screen? Are we watching how to keep our liver clean and how to make our liver, a super liver? So it's the strongest liver as our, so any toxin that enters our liver just like takes that toxin and boom, transmutes it back into light energy. Like, are we looking at that, or are we looking at the latest gossip, or the latest tragedy, or the latest? And I'm not judging. I'm watching everything in between too. But what are we paying attention to while we're watching it? What are we paying attention to while we're watching? And are we disciplined over what we're watching? Do we have the discipline to put it down? Do we have the discipline to put the phone down and stop watching and pick up a book? Or sit in silence and meditate with no sound, just the sounds of the outside world? Or just to focus on one tone? What are we paying attention to? And meditation, this is the true intention, which we'll get to on another lesson. Meditation, the true intention of meditation is what are we going to pay attention to? So in meditation, we're paying attention, meditation ion, attention ion, intention ion. These are ions. This is the ionic energy that we're interfacing with this reality directly with, this ionic just dance of the ions. Why are we building Zion with a can of Krylon? Got my style on. What are we, we're paying attention ion, what we're paying our ions attention to? What we got our eye on? What do we got our eye on with our ions? What we're paying attention to is, meditation. So the intention of meditation is what we're paying attention to. Okay, that's what it was. So when we want to pay attention to something, we can meditate on that. And meditation in this way, not just sitting there, although that is, yes, that is the meditation where we pay attention, where we give our attention to and we receive. But what we meditate upon, maybe even while we're watching what we're watching, what we meditate upon while we're doing whatever we're doing. What is it that just is on our mind? What's on your mind lately? What's on your mind lately? Is it I got to get home and see the newest episode of whatever the newest episode that I'm supposed to see is? Is that where your mind is on? And then you're expecting to get free and find your ions in Zion and be mighty like a lion in Zion, like Bob Marley said? If somebody wants to get free, okay, and the freedom from the matrix wants to ignite that light within, discover their true self, discover their God nature, okay? How are you going to do that? How are they going to do that if they're paying attention and thinking like, I can't wait to get home. I can't wait to sit down with my wife and we're going to watch, it's HBO night tonight, and now we're going to pay attention to HBO, but in the back of our minds, dream someday of setting our family free, Well, you can dream all day. We can sit here and dream all day and not get no accomplishment. And you wake up at 30, at 40, at 50, at 70, at 80, boom, you're gone. With that same dream in the back of the head. Forgotten how many thousands of hours were spent watching and paying attention to stupidity. Okay? Foundational integrity, what we pay attention to. I can't even imagine how much time I've spent in front of watching a movie or a TV show. Just say movies and TV shows, entertainment, okay? Just myself personally, if they took all those hours together and then divided those up into days, into years, like how much time Because there's a part of our day where we're asleep, right? And those things affect our sleep. They affect our dreams. That's why I stopped watching stuff at certain times of the night years ago. Especially when the Netflix came out and things like that. And I got the binge watch thing, we caught there's like a virus, like you catch this binge watch virus and you binge watch stuff. And then I'd be like, I was binge watching Star Trek. I was like, whoa, I got Star Trek available to me? Dope. Oh, I'm watching every episode in order. And I'm dreaming about Star Trek and I'm fucking thinking about it. I mean, what the heck? What a waste of time. What a waste of time. Wasting time. Now, there's some lessons in Star Trek that I could use for my ministry. It's not all a waste of time. I'm that way. But really, at the end of it all, and you see a chart of where you spent your time and your energy and what you paid attention to, what's that chart look like? I look at my chart and I'm like, yo, damn. We have a week every week every year we have a certain celebration in hip hop culture called Hip Hop Appreciation Week. And we say and we teach, I am hip hop. How do you preserve hip hop? By preserving the hip hopper. What is appreciation? To add value to. Is what we are paying attention to appreciating our value? Is it raising our value? I'm not saying get rid of the YouTube. I'm not saying get rid of the TV. I'm not saying none of that. Maybe somebody has to. There's people who live free of that. But this appreciation as being a hip hopper and saying, yo, you know what, God? I appreciate the life that you gave me. I appreciate this. Will that chart show my appreciation for the gifts that God gave us with life? For me specifically, I just look at that chart and I'm like, oh man, does that chart really show that I appreciated this life? Not enjoyed this life, not indulged in this life, not got everything I wanted in this life. Did I show appreciation? Did my ions appreciate this life based on that chart? And that chart is showing what I spent my time and paid attention to. What are you paying attention to, my nobility? For real. You could be going about your day, doing what you're doing, but what are we paying attention to while we are going about our day? Are we paying attention to our depression? Are we paying attention to our hurt, to our suffering, to the injustice? Are we paying attention to the life-giving, life-force source of God? I'll tell you, you pay attention to your element as an MC, you pay attention to your MCing, then your attention pays back. When you get dope at rapping and you could kick a freestyle and you could write a song and you could rock a mic and you could tell a story and you can uplift the people through the rhymes, that you can shift reality with the power of your spoken word, divine speech. See, as an MC, you pay attention to MCing. I paid so much attention to it. I want to say terrible because I always had heart and soul, but like my rhythm and but I had this passion. I used to just spend hours and hours just sitting there. I had this garage with this like little, I guess, utility closet in it, but it had a little desk and somebody put a plug in there. So I put the stereo in there and I had the beats from like Doughboy, right? And shout out Doughboy, the producer, gave me a CD full of beats. I never had beats before to write to, I don't even think YouTube, it may have been around in 2005. I don't remember. I didn't have it. Maybe I did. I don't remember being able to listen to beats on it though like that. I had the CD player with beats, and I had a notebook, and I had my pen. And painstakingly just going through the process of developing my own style and listening to the beats and what's the beat saying to me? How am I going to rap over this beat? How am I going to spit my rhyme over this beat? What story am I going to tell over this beat? How am I going to transition from my verse to a chorus? How am I going to make that chorus catchy that people want to sing along with it? You know? Is this going to even work live? How's my breath control over this beat? But when I'm spitting it, can I spit the full 16? Can I spit the whole song and still have my breath control, still not be out of breath? Hours and hours and hours and hours and critique after criticism after diss after critique after all and everything in between. Yo, I'm rolling with the teacher KRS-One. The greatest to ever do it, surrounded by the greatest to ever do it, you know? And just loving it as it is, you know? Not in competition with nobody. Really in cooperation. There's hours and, you know, when you really pay attention to something that you really, you know, like, for instance, MCing is this example. You should welcome the criticism until the criticism no longer affects you. To where you're so deliberate with what you're doing that you see the criticism and you're like, you know, because I'll tell you, the criticisms that I received from certain people, not all the criticism, but certain people's critique, I would call it, not even criticizing my music, critiquing my music, but maybe saying something that might have been hard to hear. You take those to lesson, and if you could really take in critique, if you could really take in an objective view of yourself from somebody else, from what they're seeing, if you could really take that in, it will make you better at what you do. It's your choice if you listen to them or not. They might say, hey, it would be dope if you rap faster, and you start fast rapping, and then you find out it ain't really for me all the time, but then every once in a while you kick a faster rhyme because you worked on it, because you tried it out, and then you're like, oh, that's a new flavor I got. You know, I can add that to this, you know, it makes you more versatile in that way. So be like, you're too preachy. And like, I can't help that. The content of the lyrics, it's like, you know, your heart, there's a vein right from the heart down to the tips of our fingers and thumbs, like this, like when we pinch. And like when I grip the pin, I could feel the pin, I could feel the vein, I could feel the blood and rushing from my arm to my heart. And then it comes up from the heart, woo, out the mouth. Woo. The brain's involved too. The brain's looking at all this, watching it all, you know, witnessing it all. But it's the heart that's pumping and moving the hand to what to write. So when the heart's speaking and you're writing, some people, it might hurt their heart, it might offend their heart, it might enlighten their heart, it might, you know, inspire their heart, it might warm their heart. You feel me? Because we are connected. And so what do we want to put out? Knowing that we're connected, do we want to put out health, love, awareness, and wealth, or sickness, hatred, ignorance, and poverty? The difference is only this simple. It's a simple difference. What do we pay attention to? When you're sick, do you pay attention to getting well, or do you pay attention to the sickness? Which one are you paying attention to? Is it a mixture of both? Yeah, right. Will I get better? Will I? Won't I? Is there an internal battle going on? The devil on one shoulder, the angel on the other. Oh, will I get better? Won't I get better? I don't know. You know? Or are you like, oh man, I'm getting better right now. Little, oh man, am I feeling a little nauseous right now? Oh man, I'm getting better from that right now. I'm already feeling better. You know, and it may resist, it might try and convince you, but what is the intention? What are you paying attention to? What are we paying attention to in that time? Are we paying attention to the sickness, hatred, ignorance, and poverty? Are we paying attention to the health, love, awareness, and wealth? Because they're both there. With my dad, me and mom, we just focused on the health, love, awareness, and wealth of what, he's obviously caught something in his body, and his spirit is leaving his body, and his body is dying and decaying, or whatever we want to see it as. But it's like, cleanliness, we keep him clean. That's healthy. Good food, healthy food, that keeps him healthy. Healthy music, he loves gospel music. He loved gospel music. He would listen to gospel music and sing along. Healthy. Are we paying attention to that? The health, love, awareness, and wealth of our environment and our loved ones in our environment. And we can pay attention to both, but I'm just asking, if we have the choice, which we do, what are we choosing? And why are we choosing the wrong things? Does it even make sense? I had to ask myself that. I still do. It's something we have to ask ourselves. Why would I choose what's wrong for me when I can choose what's right for me? And sure, there's some wisdom. There's a lot of wisdom. I know you're going to make mistakes. You're going to do the wrong things in life. Wisdom is gained by our mistakes. We transmute so-called mistakes, and we transmute a so-called mistake, and we turn it into wisdom. And that's what we're paying attention to today. We're paying attention to our H-law, to our divine performance. We're paying attention to that. I'm going to put the definition of attention up here. Just to, kind of look and see what the American Heritage Dictionary, 3rd edition, has to say. It's a pretty short one, actually. Attention. And I always like the abbreviation, ATTN. Those two crosses just kind of look cool. All right, attention. Definition number 1. Concentration of the mental powers upon an object. A close or careful observing or listening. Now I would say concentration of the mental powers upon a subject or an object. Are we talking about hip-hop as consciousness here? Do you see it? Do you see it? If we're using our attention, and our attention is hip-hop as consciousness, we can be looking at something that we may and see it in a new light. And when we see something in a new light, we are the new light that we're seeing. We're bringing that light into the darkness. So where others see sickness, hatred, ignorance, and poverty, we see through our sight health, love, awareness, and wealth. On subjects and objects. Remember, hip-hop consciousness is the sight that transforms subjects and objects. Well, to transform a subject and object, we pay attention to it. Concentration of the mental powers upon an object, of the mind upon an object. And they didn't put subject in there. But we as hip-hoppers know upon subjects and objects, and close or careful observing or listening. That's why we're going to, perform listening tonight is going to be our read. Attention 2, the ability or power to concentrate mentally. Do you know at TikTok alone how much damage it is doing at this very moment to collective consciousness? It's like a chainsaw ripping through little branches. It's like a whirlwind, just destroying everything in its path. TikTok alone. It's because it's taken away the power to concentrate. These little quick reels, this little, all of this. I don't do anything under a minute. On my IG, I think a minute. People's attention span isn't even long enough for a minute. Scrolling, liking, ding, 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 ding. How many likes did you use on a Facebook page, if you're on Facebook or Instagrams? How many likes did you give out this week? And how many do you remember? Think about it. Our attention, by definition, here in number 2, the ability or power to concentrate mentally. There is a power and an ability, an ability and a power when we are able to concentrate mentally. They used to tell us, that we used to just have like 4 channels on television, that was it. And adults used to tell us, you kids these days got no attention span. You're always thinking about television and running around, and you got a short attention span. Well, yeah, we're watching these sitcoms that every 5 minutes or 8 minutes or whatever it is, it's a 30-minute show, and you got all these advertisements that would pop in. It's switching the frequency of the brain from the story to another, to a da 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 da. It's programming. But right here, the ability or power to concentrate mentally. There is a power in us being able to concentrate mentally. A great way for this is learn about albums. That's why I like albums. From front to back, an album. Where people just want to hear bits and pieces of songs. They used to write albums. Some people would write what we call a concept album. Right? Where the whole album, Funkadelic would do this. Parliament Funkadelic would do this. Pink Floyd would do this. There's prog rock bands would do this. Prince would do this. These concepts of an album, so where hip-hop would do this, KRS would do this, Public Enemy would do this. The idea of an album going front to back is because the album would be listened to. If you bought a CD, you wouldn't really put them on shuffle because there was so much time between shuffles. It took a while for the mechanics, the mechanisms to shuffle a CD. And before we could even make our own mix CDs, that was a long time before we could even make our own mix on a CD. So we would put an album in, and you wanted to be able to listen to that album without having to just keep changing. Like if you're driving your car, you want an album you can listen to. Because there's a power to be able to concentrate mentally and an ability there. Definition number 3, observant consideration. Notice. What do we notice? What are we observing? What are we considering when we're observing what we notice? Definition number 4, consideration or courtesy. We want to pay attention to how somebody feels. We want to pay attention to what we say as a courtesy to others. We don't want to walk around offending old ladies and old men just for the sake of it. We don't walk around just, demeaning people and dissing them by our words. That's rude. That's not how society's built. That's not how a healthy society is. And look how unhealthy this society is when everybody's, this whole idea just being up in everybody's face with like whatever it is. I'm all up in your face with my beliefs, motherfucker. It's like, get the fuck out of my face then. I'm not up in nobody's face with my beliefs. Privacy is a right of God. Privacy is a right of God. Whose thoughts are trying to invade your mind? No, that's your privacy. That's your right to God. How you feel and think inside is nobody's business. Especially when the holy place is mental. And you want a holy place? Or you are the holy place? Look at that. It's time we clean up our temples, our mental temples. It's time we clean them up from the stupidity that the world is trying to diminish, degrade, and tarnish our temples with. Attentions, acts of courtesy, consideration, or gallantry, especially by a suitor. That's old school language. A suitor is somebody who's trying to win the favors of a young woman, a young maiden. Attention, a military posture with the body erect, eyes to the front, arms to the sides, and heels together, used as a command to assume an erect military position. Yeah. They do that in the military, psychological warfare. It's the first part of MK Ultra. It's the first part of the mind control in the military. Attention, at ease. So they're commanding you to be tense. Attention, tense, I'm tense. Attention, tension, at ease. And we shouldn't be tense about what we pay attention to. We shouldn't be tense about it, I would say that if you're tense about it, like when we're tense about it, which happens, we should examine that, pay attention to why we're tense about any situation out there. But what are we using our hip hop site for now? You know, because that's what I'm realizing with these, you know, this, what do we call it? Foundational integrity. This foundational integrity, our attention, our intention, our intuition, and our intention, all of those things has to do with hip hop sight, with hip hop is consciousness, with this sight. All four of them will work their way together to improve our ability to use and to experience and to transform subjects and objects in our environment. In such a way that we will witness miracles. We will be the miracle. You will be the answered prayer in your life for other people. So as this foundation that we're setting here, these next 4 weeks, we ask ourselves this week, what am I paying attention to? And I'll say it now and in closing as well. There's homework this week. There's training this week. And that training is that everyone who watches this from now until they watch the next one over the next 7 days, meditate for 7 days straight. Meditate. Not all day for 7 days straight. Take time to meditate. Every day. 10 minutes minimum. Minimum 18 minutes, all right? 18-minute minimum. 9-minute minimum. Let's do the power of 9. You know? For those who are just like, I haven't made the time to meditate, and you're busy and working and doing all this stuff. 9 minutes to meditate. Every day for 7 days. Those who meditate every day already, what are you paying attention to in the meditation? And pick something in our meditation for 7 days. You pick something that you want to pay attention to for 7 days. Write a word down. Write a word down wherever you meditate. Look at that word or somewhere you're going to see that word. And meditate on that idea, that word, that concept. It could be a few words, maybe a paragraph, maybe a daily freestyle, whatever that is. Something just to meditate on for 7 days, to pay attention to. Your intention is to pay attention to, through this meditation, these ions, right? What is it? And put your attention to that for 7 days. And then next week, and the next week, and the next week, we'll put an intention to something new, something different. You know, this will be an exercise, a 4-week meditation. But this first week, health could be love. You could just write H-Law. I'm going to just I'm going to pay attention to H-Law this week. I'm going to meditate on H-Law this week. I'm going to literally take 9 minutes a day this week for 7 days and meditate on H-Law. The idea, what it means, health, love, awareness, and wealth. What does it mean? Right? I'm going to speak it to my body in my meditation. I'm going to say I'll make an affirmation for 7 days. And really, 9 minutes is the minimum. Like I really encourage to 18 minutes really at the minimum. At the minimum. That's you would be amazed what 18 minutes a day of 7 days a week would do. Especially if what we talk about next week, or is it next week? When we do talk about intention, when we set the intention of our day, like that's when meditating in the morning for 18 minutes will come in. So this is a habit to get into. This is a training exercise. You feel me? This is a training exercise to get all of us, or those of you especially who really need this, into this build up slowly. 9 minutes a day, 18 minutes a day, paying attention to H-Law, or paying attention to, you pick it. It could just be love. It could be just pick something noble. Pick something, pick a divine performance, pick something, spiritual. Let's say spiritual, but pick something inspirational to meditate on, to pay attention to for 7 days, 9 minutes a day, 18 minutes a day. And then, you'll see the results of that. Maybe not next week at the end of the 7 days, but the following week. You'll see that from the other previous 7 days. Because it will start appearing. You'll start noticing it more. And by the time that these, 4 weeks are done, doing this exercise after 4 weeks, there will be a shift in our daily activity, a shift in our consciousness, a shift in our health, love, awareness, and wealth, a shift in our sight, a shift in the foundation of who we are and what we are. And a lot of what I just said, it was for closing, but I will bring it up again. I'll bring it up as a reminder because we're actually getting towards the end of this. Because this is a different form of message from the Minista now. This is the spiritual training. We talked about this last week when we did when we went through that really deep study. But that deep study, it's great to know all of that stuff. I mean, I was talking about the Rainbow Bridge and all of this, it was deep study, but the only reason I know I was able to experience things is because of these foundations. This foundational knowledge and this spiritual training that we talked about. Discipline. I was saying, perform discipline and everything. I was like, man, discipline through the sight of spiritual training, that's what this is. This is a discipline. We're performing discipline. This is a spiritual training exercise. And through the spiritual training, the muscles get stronger. And this is a tool that once you learn, you'll just be able to go back to those foundational pieces and go, oh yeah, you see that, I saw that drawing. I was like, wow, I've been living this for a long time. I used to meditate on that picture, like that drawing. I had it drawn out on a big old poster board I got from the dollar store. I bought some markers and bought some dollar store poster boards, foam poster boards, and I drew it all big, the foundational, and then I drew another one, H-Law, all around it. I should probably dig it out. I might have it somewhere, actually. I'll dig it out this week and I'll bring it out here, what I used to meditate on, because it's even more than this, which will be interesting, but this is the key right here. But yeah, I used to meditate on that. I have it at, as a matter of fact, I drew it when I was at the teacher's house, staying in his garage early in my apprenticeship. And I came across this and I thought, wow, this is a really cool thing because this matches what we're talking about, And so I would meditate on this, but that was years ago. I mean, it's been at least 10 years, 12 years since I even looked at this. I may have looked at it, glanced at it, but I looked at it, I was like, wow, this thing really came in handy because once you get something like a foundational piece, you're building off that foundational piece with other things. And so this foundational piece is just part of my subconscious, knowing. So to see it, I'm like, wow, and to see it in a new light now, in an expanded light and an expanded awareness, I could say that it works. You feel me? I don't want to give out things that don't work. And I'll say it works for me. I know it works for me because I know my foundation's solid. Because I'm aware of what I'm paying attention to. And I've known that. Even if I'm watching something stupid, I'm like, why am I can't even watch something stupid. It's so hard. People want to watch something stupid. I can't participate in it anymore. I did it. I did it. I'm 49 years. I spent, I already did enough of that. I'm tired. You get done with the stupidity. And, I've been done with it for a while, but hopefully for those of you who are younger, just get done with the stupidity early. Maybe just now. Just be done with the stupidity for here on out. Because you don't want to add to the stupidity of that. So, pay attention. Pay attention to what we're watching. Let's read from the Gospel of Hip Hop here. This, of course, is from the Gospel of Hip Hop, written by the teacher KRS-One and presented to the Temple of Hip Hop. And this is his I Am Hip Hop philosophy, written down. This is the Gospel of Hip Hop. And we are going to be reading from the third overstanding, the divine performance. And I took out my marker for some reason, so I have to find what page it's on. It is the third divine performance performed study on page 154. Divine performance number 3. Perform study. Study the progression of your own life experiences. Write them down. Study your life and practice repeating the actions of your own success. And see here, my nobility, I wrote them down. This chart that I wrote down, it's not like I just wrote down every event that happened. I write down that one chart. I just look at that one drawing, and it's a symbol that unlocks entire events and experiences and remembrances and learnings and things of a certain time period. So, yes, you want to write down when you're taking your daily journal and you're writing out your experiences to study yourself, but these are keys. Certain drawings, certain pictures, certain structures and mental structures and constructs that you can create in your mind are empowering. This is how hieroglyphs work. Remember, every one of these letters that we're looking at, even in the English language, each one of these letters has its own meaning and purpose of why it is shaped that way, what the meaning of the letter S actually is. This is a code. So we perform study. We study our own codes, our own life experiences, and we write them down. Study your life and practice repeating the actions of your own success. That is from the Sneak Attack. If you don't repeat the actions of your own success, you won't be successful. From the Sneak Attack album. What kind of world are we living in? Study God's ways. Study God's voice. Study God's laws. And most of all, study God's love and selfless care. Familiarize yourself through study with the way of the Great Spirit. And we chose study because this is what we're paying attention to. What are we studying? Give the mind direction. Give the mind direction. Okay? Give the mind direction before God has to give you correction. Give the mind direction before God sends correction. If you give the mind wrong direction, God will send correction. Every week, and see, this is where this thing that I'm saying comes in here. Every week, investigate on a mental level a new idea that you are unfamiliar with or only partially familiar with. Design your style of conversation through study. See, so what are you going to pick to investigate this week? What is that? This is the challenge for 9 days. Meditate on it for, those 9 minutes a day. Set aside time to meditate, but then meditate on it throughout the day. And design your style of conversations through this study. If I'm meditating on love, then I'm going to be talking about what does love mean? You could ask your coworkers, what does love mean to you? And no judgment, just hear what their answers are and say thanks, and show appreciation. If you're asking them, what does peace mean to you? Ask your coworkers or those people you find yourself, your family members, hey, what does peace mean to you? That's what it means to meditate on something for a week. You ask everybody else around you, what does it mean to them? You might be surprised at the answers. You feel me? Every week, investigate on a mental level a new idea that you are unfamiliar with or only partially familiar with. Design your style of conversation through study. Seek out new spiritual, philosophical, and political books, seminars, cassettes, compact discs, videos, and other information that specifically builds your spiritual and political knowledge. I mean, all of that is so interesting. Like when this book was written, that's all YouTube and Google and all whatever now. But still seek these same things out. I still got cassettes, compact discs, and videos, DVDs, books, This whole electric grid might shut down someday, Solar flare or something, just wipe out the all the computers in one fatal swoop. Then all you have is what books, and that's where the knowledge is, or the writings, your own writings of what you've written down by hand. An infinite, all-knowing, all-seeing, omnipresent God does not speak one language or through one religion or political party. Boy, there's a lesson for everybody. God does not speak through any political party or one specific religion. God is infinitely limitless and speaks through a variety of sources. Therefore, hip hoppers are encouraged to explore and respect all spiritual materials, thoughts, people, and places. Such a study expands the spiritual experience of the hip hopper and builds character. Perfect yourself. For the more you perfect yourself, the more perfect you shall become. You cannot expect spiritual results in the physical world if you are spiritually unstudied. For if you are truly serious about enhancing your spiritual reality and you truly value the presence of God in your life, then you must take your spiritual study time seriously. Don't just study this gospel, study all gospels. Know this, the true hip hopper lives this gospel and studies all others. All right, so here's something for the kids out there. Watch television shows that inform as well as entertain. Do not waste your time criticizing the use of televisions, computers, motion pictures, print media, the internet, and radio. Simply choose very carefully the programs you expose yourself and your family to. Whatever the program, seek to create a lesson out of it. And you see, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I'll shout out movies at least every other week with some kind of lesson, some kind of lesson. Extract the lesson out of what you're watching. Extract that lesson, extract something out of it. That's how the attention pays back. You're paying attention to it. It might as well receive something in return, Whatever the program, seek to create a lesson out of it. Extract the hidden meaning behind all that you are exposed to. Woo! Extract the hidden meaning behind all that you are exposed to. My nobility, that right there, that one line will change and shift reality for all of us when we all start doing this. Extract the hidden meaning behind all that you are exposed to. Create a meaning, even when there appears to be none. Know this, to the pure in heart, all things are pure, but to the troubled, all things are troubling. See only God and experience only peace. What are we paying attention to, my nobility? Look for the lesson, even if one does not appear to exist. Expand your comprehension. Do not just study knowledge, create knowledge out of the experiences of your own life. Add to the things that you already know. Do not just study to know. Bring your knowing to your study. Study what you need to know. See that? Study what you need to know. All true hip-hoppers should know something of world history, commerce and trade, philosophy, politics, art, music, medicine, religion, geology, science, mathematics, psychology, public speaking, cooking, cleaning, parenting, and this gospel of hip-hop. The true hip-hopper is familiar with and knows how to use a variety of holy books, standard dictionaries, the solar and lunar calendars, the Mayan calendar, his country's constitution, and the interstate highway and road maps of his country. Yo, my nobility, I'm telling you, listen, if you've only been using a navigation system since you've been driving and you don't know how to use your maps or how to get the big map book, you might want to get a big map book and learn how to use a map, a road map. I'm telling you, if a solar flare hits and knocks out the internet, you're going to have to learn how to use a road map. Times are going to change drastically. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it sure would be nice that if it did happen, you know how to use a road map. I mean, it's even nice to be able to use a road map if you don't have reception. If you're traveling across country, have a road map with you. This knowledge is very helpful and empowering to the free, traveling, entrepreneurial hip-hopper. Visit and use your public library if you are privileged to be near one. Be prepared to copy information and take notes at all times. Perform your study, seek, memorize, and create new knowledge. Study is about the building and knowing of one's self. It is not about the building of state institutions and the knowing of others and their achievements. Study is about getting educated. It is about the building of one's self. As Ernest Thompson Seton once said, manhood. Woo! Let's give it up for manhood. Not scholarship is the first aim of education. Perform your study. To all the men out there, perform your study. That's your manhood right there, is what you are paying attention to is directly tied to your manhood. You're cuck. You're looking at cuck television. We got beta shit. You know, what's this world trying to take your power away, your manhood away from you? Well, then pay attention to your manhood. Study your manhood. What are you studying? Does it add to your manhood? And women too, your womanhood. Is what you're studying and paying attention to increasing and enhancing your womanhood, your empowerment as a woman? Not what the world is telling you is to be an empowered woman. What God is telling you it means. To be a man, to be a woman. What is God saying? From your heart, what you know in your soul. Not what the television says, not what the mass media says, not what the world is saying. What does your heart say? I know my heart, I love being a man. The body, peace standing up, the testosterone, the ability to build and create and fix. And women can do build, create, and fix. But me as a man, I like that. I like having the strength, and I like that, and the focus, and I like this body. I feel this body. This is me. I'm not selling it out or giving up for nobody or nothing. This is the gift. And we're only here for a short time with this gift. And so what I'm paying attention to then is everything in my life. I'm paying attention to my life. Are we paying attention to our very life? That's what we need to pay attention to. That's what all these intention, what is it again? The foundational integrity. Once again, it's integrity, intention, intuition, and attention. Integrity, intuition, intention, and attention. These foundational blocks of life and our ability to, we talk about integrity, right? Foundational integrity. We talked about integrity a while back. There's another message from the Minista with it in its title. Integrity is longevity. Talking about when things are built well, they last longer. So if a car's built well, like I've got this, I just keep trading the same value cars for value cars. A while back I had that Acura NSX, but it was just, needed too much work. And so I sold it for a dollar amount that I wanted for it. It was reasonable. And then I wanted an Infiniti, a G37 coupe with a manual, right? And I had $6,500. And these things are usually like double that. Like literally, 10 grand, 11 grand for what and all of a sudden I saw one. It just had high miles. But I was like, I think that's the one God wants me to get. Right? Even though it's got high miles, it was somebody had garaged it and taken care of it. And I know that this car has integrity. It's got structural integrity. They at certain times, certain car companies will overbuild cars, like the first Toyota Tundras. These trucks are just indestructible. 500,000 mile machines, This Infiniti G37 coupe, this motor, this HQ motor, it's like, if it's taken care of with just regular maintenance, if I maintain it, if I'm disciplined to keep it maintained, like the previous owner was, kept it garage, maintained it, this thing will just keep going and going. But I got it for a good price because it's got a high mileage car. But I will take a high mileage car that's been maintained over a lower mileage car that hasn't been taken care of. Because that high mileage car will have more integrity, structural integrity. The thing's a 2008. Doesn't have a rattle on it. I'm driving along. It's quiet. You shut the door. It's solid. You raise the windows. The clutch feels good. The shift feels good. The steering, it's been maintained though. All those little pieces are, been maintained. If it needed to be replaced, it got replaced. But just routine maintenance. But when you buy a car that's got structural integrity, then it's built to last. You buy a home. I talked about this during structural integrity. Like the wood that they built this home. I think this home is like 1970, late 70s, 78, 79. But a 2x4 and a 4x4 and a 4x6 and all the wood that this house is built from is actually bigger, thicker, and stronger than what they're calling the same measurements in a home built in the last 10 years even. Like what they call a 2x4 now is actually smaller than what was a 2x4 back in 1978 and 79. They change the parameters, they round and roll the edges, they do certain little tricks that it actually becomes smaller. They dry it out. Or they don't dry it out, it's moist. They keep it moist so it expands to meet those measurements. And then when it dries out, it shrinks even smaller than when it's brought home. It's just because it's all about dollars and cents and not about structural integrity to these people, Always trying to nickel and dime everybody to, But when something is built with strong structural integrity, it lasts. What did Jesus say about the man who built his house upon the sand? He built his house upon a stand. He built the house upon a weak foundation. It didn't have no integrity to stand on. And so when the storms came, the storms of life hit, the man who built his house upon the sand, it washed away. But then there was the man who built his house upon the rock. And the storms of life beat upon that rock, and it was fine. The sun came out again. So when the storms of life hit you or hit us, what is our foundation? What is the square that we're standing on as our foundation? What are we building our pillars on? What are we anchoring ourselves into when the storms of life hit? It could be seen as a root structure in a tree. Where are we digging our roots? What are we putting our roots into? That's structural integrity too. The roots are what holds the tree into the earth so it doesn't blow over. What are we paying attention to? Okay? This has to do with foundational integrity, part 1. Attention pays. So what if we pay attention to something that going back to the beginning, when we pay attention to something, it gives back. And when it's spiritual, when it's God, when it's health, love, awareness, and wealth, when it's those things, when it's forgiveness, it gives us back more than what we're putting out. Everything else gives us back way less than what we're putting in. We're putting into a system that's giving us very little, if anything, in return. We put into God, God gives us more. That's what it's called. That's what the real abundance is. God gives us more love, more health, more love, more awareness, more wealth, more God. And then that's a solid foundation right there. That's integrity. That's why it's important what we pay attention to. Because what we pay attention to, attention pays. If we pay attention to something wise, if we're wise with what we pay attention to, it will pay in dividends with interest, Oh, and remember, perform study. Every week, think of something new to study. Think of something new. So this week, what the homework is, just as a rehash. This week, 7 days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 9 minutes for the next 7 days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 9 minutes. 18 minutes, really. Please, 18, if you can. But if it's only 9, it's 9. And you'll see the difference. 9 days, write something down. Write a quote down. Write an idea down. Write just one word down. Write something down. Something you'll just remember. And look at it. You can keep it in your pocket if you're going to pull it out. It could be, but write it down with your hand, a hand-heart connection. You have to write it. This isn't for the phone. You missed the lesson if you're on the phone. This is hand-heart connection. Write it down. And look at it every day for 7 days, whatever that is, for 7 days. Speak about it. Talk about it. Make it something, be something that you want to write something down that you're comfortable talking about because you want to talk about your family with it. Like I said, keep it what does peace mean to you? Could you just peace? And think about peace and meditate on peace and pay attention to peace for 7 days. At the end of those 7 days, you're going to have way more peace. Meditating on peace for 7 days, for 9 minutes a day. And then talking and thinking about peace, meditating on it while you're out working or whatever else you're doing. And then watch how much more peace happens after that. Or whatever it is, don't get stuck on peace. Don't get stuck on peace. There's something on your heart, or on your mind even. Or maybe a word that's been appearing like integrity. Like, let me just think about the word integrity this week. It just seems to keep popping up. Write integrity down. Put the definition next to it, whatever that is. And think about that and ask people, what does integrity mean to you? What does integrity mean to you? This is the homework, and we're going to do this for 4 weeks. Foundational integrity, and part 1, attention pays. Thank you so much for attending this message from the Minista. I look forward to the next 3 as we build this up and we put this together. And peace and much love to everyone. I just want to thank a heartfelt, warm-hearted thank you to everyone who reached out to me this week. I know there's people in rehab right now. I know there's people who've been in institutions. I know there's people who's in the hospital right now. I know there's people at home not feeling well right now. But I know there's people stuck in a job. I know because y'all reach out to me, and I'm just letting you know I've been there, and whatever it is that you got to get through, you're going to get through it. And this is what inspired this week's to get these foundational pieces right in your life. And there is no shame in any experience, God willing. There is no shame in any of this experience, God willing. Forgive yourself. What is feeling guilty, giving up inspirational living towards yourself? From Minister G. Simone, the acknowledgist G. Simone. Guilty, giving up inspirational living towards yourself. Stop feeling guilty about stuff. Self-acceptance is the key to hip-hop. We're talking about the hip-hop site these next 4 weeks. So get that hip-hop site on forgiveness. Get that hip-hop site on empowerment. Get that hip-hop site on, God loves me. I should love what God loves. God loves you. You should love what God loves. And for whatever it is, what you went through, what anybody's going through out there, and I know we're all going through a lot. I'm hearing it. We're all going through a lot. But as my brother Eddie Jesus says, it's God approved. So whatever that experience is that you're going through or went through, it's God approved. It's God approved. That's all we need to know, my nobility. It's God approved. Go forward this week in health, in love, in awareness, in wealth, in peace and prosperity. And there it is. Hey!